Und wenn wir uns anschauen, dass diese Grundlagen dieser Krise, also seit wir schon lange eigentlich schon 2 Jahrzehnte zurück, wenn wir uns die ganzen Krise anschauen, in der weltweiten
Tak, Paulinka, rozumiem. Tak, na marginesie to Szakti się pytała, czy dzisiaj będziesz. No powiedziałem jej, że po prostu jesteś chora i dzisiaj ci nie będzie niestety. Oh, look, a big protest in Vienna, in Austria.
Oh, good, right? Yes. I mean, it's great because you know you've got an actual news channel in that as well. And this is a Polish news channel that is this Polish.
This is Polish English.
Polish. Good man.
In the studio, in the studio, you know, some information is for Polish people, some Polish.
No, that's good. There's a lot of Poles in Ireland, and obviously in England and that as well. Yeah, there's everyone. Because where's the people exactly? It's
You know, the government lie all the time. Like now they lie about some Delta variant and Lambda variant. Jesus, why people believe it?
Well, I mean, the WHO now, the World Health Organization said that the children should not be vaccinated from this.
Yes.
And that perhaps not even those into their 20s. Now, they've changed for June. I think they're afraid that when they just settle on this, when people see what's actually happening, they become these guys legally and that what they've done. So they want to be the first to change the narrative that they want to be changing it too late. And the guy who actually developed the mRNA technology and that, who invented it, he says they should not be using this for vaccines. But it's Dr. Robert Malone. He actually developed mRNA technology, and he says no, they should not be used for these vaccines. It's just so quick.
A few days ago, we had an online show with Polish doctor.
Yes.
His name is, but he said in this show all true about experimental vaccine, about PCR test, because this is not really test, this doesn't work, you know, and he told everything about mask. Yes, the mask is very dangerous for people, and everything, you know. And we, in this moment, this video is on the Facebook, and we're waiting when they delay this video. But this video is in Polish language, I think, so that's why it's still on the Facebook. Because if it will be English, I think so will be.
Check it out.
Yeah.
I spoke in the past couple of days to Maria Felsi, she lives up in County Armagh, but she's now she's out in Tanzania, and she's actually brought on a couple of people on the current affairs program to talk about what's happening with the virus, vaccines, with treatments, etc. But she'll be bringing on Professor Dolores Cahill, I think, in maybe 2 weeks' time or a week and a half's time, and that. and also Dr. Heiko Schöning. Now, they had a problem there. They had David Icahn there about a week ago, and it was absolutely sensational. And that, by the way, this program goes all over Africa, so it goes out to West Africa, Nigeria, and that Tanzania, Southern Africa as well, and that. So it's disseminated right throughout Africa. But soon she'll have Professor Dolores Cahill on to talk about the virus, about vaccines, about treatments as well, and that's going to be very, very, very interesting. But also Dr. Heiko Schöning, and that will be coming on, and there'll be a special, especially when they talk about the president there who died, President John Marcofulio, and that. The story has to come out on that. There has to come out on that exactly what happened. And as it happens, one of the experts in the area actually happens to be Dr. Heiko Schöning, and that from Germany, medical doctor, and that. And he also is a former soldier as well, was in the army as well. But he will talk to that as well. That's going to be fascinating. So it's happening all over the world, and I know Tanzania. Look, if they were to do what they were asked by the WHO, people would have starved. I mean, it's bad enough here in Ireland and that people have lost their jobs and lost businesses. It'll never come back, never come back. We're facing into economic disaster with all that they've done. So I just hope that we can get the word out to people soon enough so that they can pay attention, see really what's going on.
Thank you. So I can speak to you like a normal, because mine is not very well.
No, what you're doing is powerful.
I know, but I need my children now. But Paulina is a little bit sick and everything is at work. So
Do what you can when you can. It's the highest and best use of your time. If you can't, you have to prioritize. So I have to prioritize as well. And that, like with me, I know if you're doing the rosary later on here and that as well. So we do things. I was out in the garden today preparing a garden because I'm frightened of what might happen. So that's in Austria and Vienna.
Yeah.
Well done, Vienna.
Yeah.
Well done, Vienna.
Okay.
Right.
Hi. Teraz mi o tym. No ale to teraz będzie. No, teraz jest później. O, cześć.
Kasia, Jola, Iga, Tymek.
Cześć, Robert. Bardzo mi miło. Witam. Cześć, Robert. Łączy.
Two. You're all welcome here. I'm going to start off with a song called Step Inside My House. I think it's kind of apt for the times we're in, with communities and families being basically separated. It may look as if everything is normal with all you see in the media, but that is not the case. Communities and families are being attacked. They are being attacked. So you can have a listen to the song. I remember years ago, I mean, neighbours, you call into neighbours or whatever, but that's really, it's really good. And all this sort of stuff. But anyways, I'll continue the song. That picture hanging on the wall was painted by a friend. The tree all down and out when he owed me 10. Didn't look like much, I guess, but it's all he ever had. Sure is nice when the lights down low and the lights a little dim. Step inside this house, girl. I'll sing for you a song.
We're gonna stay here.
No,
Where I've been.
Okay. So
Won't take too long.
music.
Speaking music, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Tell you all the things that I own. Cherish, might say.
X-Men.
Wouldn't take more than $10, girl, to brighten up my day. This book of poems was given to me by a girl I used to know. Read it front to back 50 times or so.
Look, this is Vienna, this is London. Now.
Yeah, yeah.
Choose your vows, good
This is Galway now. Yeah?
Go.
Well, London is not too bad.
I
Vienna
love
is fun.
that girl. I never loved that girl.
They don't have music there though, do
Step
they?
inside this house, girl. I will sing for you a song. Tell you about just where I've been. Won't take too long. Tell you all the things that I own. The treasures you might say. Wouldn't take more than $10, girl, to brighten up my day. This guitar was given to me by a man named Tommy Green. Not too much to look at, but I played it.
Witajcie, kochani.
4 or 5 times I get.
Rozpoczął się protest w irlandzkim Galway. Mam już pierwsze informacje, a dzisiaj nie odbędzie się żaden przemarsz. Cały protest odbędzie się tutaj, będzie sporo przemówień, będzie sporo muzyki. Przyjechała Shakti, założycielka Rise of Iron, także będzie na pewno przemawiała. Mam tu informację też od organizatora z Rise of Galway, że ma przemawiać były burmistrz Galway, także zobaczymy, może być bardzo, bardzo ciekawie. Zostańcie z nami, a będziemy oczywiście wszystko rejestrować. Pełny livestream z Galway idzie na fanpage Hello Irlandia. Oczywiście wspólne transmisje idą z UK od Sebastiana Rossa, jak również później przygotuję pliki filmowe i będziemy robić też krótkie materiały filmowe z poszczególnych rzeczy, także zapraszam.
Welcome again to Unite the Tribe. I hope you enjoyed your week off because you're not going to have it for a very long time. Right, our first speaker today is going to be Aaron Kelly. So, welcome up here.
I'll hold it.
How you doing, everyone? My name's Aaron. For those of you who don't know who I am, I've been here with the protesters here in Galway pretty much since the start, but I have been away for a few weeks. And you might be thinking, okay, what's going on? Why are you missing for a few weeks? Did you just get tired of all this? Did you get tired of the protesting? Did you figure these protests aren't doing anything? Or some of these negative
danke, dass ihr uns anschließt.
Danke, wir danken euch. Alle danken sich.
Ja, immer beim Freund vorbei, ja, sucht da kein Problem, irgendjemand drin und das ist die Test und auf einmal gehen alle in Quarantäne. Wir müssen da wirklich versuchen, Wege zu finden, das anzugreifen. Das ist auf jeden Fall gar nicht mal so einfach, aber dadurch, dass wir das ganze Ding keine Rechtsgrundlage haben, dass wir jetzt auch versuchen, das auf europäischer Ebene anzugreifen. Ihr macht immer mehr konzentrierte Aktionen. Wir müssen es
Könntest du deinen Zuschauern mal Hallo sagen und sorry, dass ich so viel Scheiße damit habe?
Sind wir bei mir schon online?
Wir sind bei dir die ganze Zeit online.
Die ganze Zeit?
Ja, du.
Ohne Scheiß. Ist das abgeklärt? Wirklich? Hast du schon geschaut auf meinen YouTube-Kanal?
Ja, angeblich.
Wow, super. Vielen Dank, Wege. Hallo, liebe Zuschauer. Freut mich sehr, dass ihr da seid. Ja, ich bin froh, dass das jetzt klappt mit dem Livestream. Ich habe nämlich nicht damit gerechnet. Ich enttäusche dich ja immer wieder damit, aber mit dem Handy funktioniert das auch nicht besser.
Und jetzt sagst du es ganz kurz nochmal, weil dann ist das Mikro safe. Jetzt sag's
okay, also tut mir leid, dass ich euch immer wieder enttäusche mit dem Livestream. Ich hoffe, heute mit dem Helge funktioniert das besser. Ihr seht, wir haben hier einen wahren Antifaschisten, der sich bekannt hat dazu, dass er jetzt aufgewacht ist, nachdem er Zeit hatte zu recherchieren und zu erkennen, was wirklich abgeht. Und Helge, ich bin hier sehr dankbar dafür, auch dass du hier streamst für mich.
Ich bin sehr dankbar, dass du die ganze Scheiße hier aufnimmst, obwohl so viel Widerstand da war. Jetzt auf der Seite ist geil.
Vielen Dank, Helge.
Besser als in Deutschland, viel besser. Auch die Polizei ist besser.
Die Polizei ist viel besser.
Ja, viel besser.
This protest. It is you people that these other protests are going there and they're looking at. And they do envy. They absolutely see Galway as the leading light. Okay, so what did I experience these other places that made me realise just how Galway is? Well, first, obviously, whenever you go to any new place, I had to introduce myself. And when I did, more often than not, the very first question I got asked was, what group are you with? And I remember answering these questions the first few times I heard them with a certain amount of pride. And I would say, I'm with the Galway group. Now after that, normally, more often than not, after that, there was normally some sort of awkward variation of, oh yeah, but which Galway group were you with? Now, I remember getting quite confused by this. I'm going, what do you mean, which Galway group? Is there any chance that there's another Galway group protesting on Saturdays that I'm somehow unaware of? And after a while I began to figure out what they were actually getting at was they were saying, which kind of subgroup are you? Are you part of the National Party? Are you part of the Freedom Party? Are you part of Anti-Corruption Ireland, Health Freedom Ireland, the Great Reopening, or one of the other many groups that I'm sure are represented here today with people, along with some of the others as well. And I think sometimes we can forget why what we have here in Galway is special. I was expecting to be telling them, look folks, what you need to do is you need to get some banners up, you need to get some flags up, you need to get a bit of music, and a few public speakers, and you're golden. But that's not actually, I realise that isn't the fundamentals of why Galway works. And I began to realise that what actually the fundamentals of why Galway works is actually the people. Without any need for convincing or coercing early on, all the people in Galway here who are a part of these various groups, as well as individuals, came together in mutual respect. They demonstrated this respect to set aside the various differences in either priority or policy. They didn't jostle each other for position or recognition. They didn't try to further their particular group, but instead, the whole group organically came together under the overall cause of truth and freedom, both here in Galway and Ireland-wide. Before I went to these other places, I used to think Unite the Tribes was a clever Galway-centric slogan for the protest. And I realise Unite the Tribes is exactly what we have done here. Why these other places have difficulty building momentum, and why the claim that your Galway's awake and everyone here is asleep is not the real reason why Galway works. The other places are looking at it with envy. Whether you're part of some particular freedom-oriented group, a freedom-oriented individual, not part of any group, or even if you're just here for a social release after a week of work with mask wearers and the I can't wait to get my vaccine types. It's you people coming together under this one cause, truth and freedom, that has made this work. And I was trying to explain this to them. And I don't know if I've told this little anecdote before here, but if you have heard it, I'll just tell it again. So there was one time last year, and there was a car load of us going down to a protest in Dublin. I think there was 4 of us in the car, and we were all friends. And I quickly realised that actually in the car we had one person from each of the the main groups. There was a Freedom Party person, there was a National Party person, there was an Anti-Corruption Ireland person, and something else. And I remember as we drove down to Dublin, for the 3-hour trip down from Galway, and as we drove down to Dublin, we quickly realised that we all agreed on about 95% of things. And what we did was, having quickly identified those 95% of things, we threw them out the window, and then spent 3 hours debating, sometimes lively, on the way down to Dublin, the minor differences that we had. And it was some very good debate. 3 hours later, we got to Dublin, and we all jumped out of the car as one. We were all anti-lockdown protesters. We were all on the same team. And knowing that we were going to have 3 more hours of this the way back, that was it. We were united. And I think that is a little microcosm of what Galway does here, in uniting the tribes and uniting all these groups and individuals. And that's why it works well. And this kind of little microcosm story that I was trying to explain to them is that's what you need to do. Stop jostling with each other. Stop trying to make your group the predominant group in all this. This is bigger than that. It's more important than that. It's about truth and freedom. So another thing I had to leave to figure out at the speed of Galway was our consistency. I briefly touched on this earlier. I know we had a break last week, and Dan suggested there that we're not getting one for another while. But we've been here for months now. And this consistency is viewed as key to why Galway works so well. We're here every week, and as I say, it came up many times. How do you keep people coming every week to these protests? And they say things like, it wouldn't work here. People are too lazy here. The best we could do is once a month, or something like that. And as I was kind of having these conversations, I began to become aware that I have my own personal kind of tactics for keeping myself motivated, to keep coming to the protest, to keep standing up, to keep being confident, keep fighting. But I wasn't actually sure how everybody else in Galway was doing it. So I think that in and of itself, you all deserve to give yourselves a pat on the back. Because you do. You're here week after week. And it is exhausting. And protest fatigue is a very real thing. I kind of touched on it earlier. But I thought this might just be a good opportunity to share with you a couple of tactics that I use to keep myself motivated, to keep coming. I think first, and most important one is, if you have these thoughts, so it's not doing anything, it's a waste of time, etc., don't beat yourself up about them. We're all human beings, and we all have them. But when they do, here's a couple of things you might kind of want to bear in mind. First thing is, I remember that what we're doing here is being watched by many different people. Some people are quietly supporting us in the background, and some people are not. And it's the ones who don't support us that I want you to think about in these times of doubt. Remember that somebody somewhere is monitoring the levels of resistance to this worldwide power grab, or whatever you want to call it. Some are going to be tasked at a kind of a continental level, like how much resistance is there in Africa, how much is there in South America, how much is there in Europe, etc. And within Europe, there's going to be somebody watching Ireland. How much resistance is there in Ireland as a whole? And even within this group, there's going to be somebody somewhere watching the Galway resistance. How is it doing? Is it going well? Is it still going? Is it going to dissipate out? And remember, whoever that is, whoever's monitoring all this, they're hoping to be able to report back that there's no resistance here. It's diminished out. These people aren't going to fight anymore. They're just going to lie down. They're tired. They're going to lie down. They're going to say, just take my freedom. I'm tired of all this. I'm tired of this. And that I thought actually keeps me going. That there's some wee man somewhere rubbing his hands in glee if I don't show up, if we don't show up. And it's the thought of disappointing him that is one of the things that keeps me going. I remember back in my days in the poker table, and the tactics to be used for that game are the same as for this game. Figure out what your opponent wants you to do, and then disappoint him. Another tactic I use is when I feel drained, is to picture myself in the not too distant future speaking to a small child who's asking me, what did I do when all our freedoms were taken away? In order to remain true to myself as both a human being and a proud Irishman, I need to be able to put my hand on my heart and say in complete honesty to that child, I did my best. I did everything I possibly could to resist this. Now, whether it's the image of that child, the potential interview at the pearly gates, or facing my ancestors,
Das stimmt nicht. Davon etwa 6 Monate. Seit 6 Monaten werden Menschen durch eine Flüssigkeit, die ihre Seele manipuliert, gezielt getötet. Das nenne ich ein Verbrechen an der Menschheit. Und ich möchte eins heute am 26. Juli klar und auch vor aller Welt sagen. Der Genozid, der aktuell läuft,
einer der Helden dieser Aktionen, einer der Helden des Widerstands überhaupt. Alexander Ehrlich von Verhohlen.
An den Corona-Maßnahmen schon, da reden wir noch nicht vom Impfstoff, sind in vielen afrikanischen Ländern Hunderte von Kindern gestorben, Hunderte Millionen von Kindern gestorben, weil sie von der Nahrungsmittelversorgung in den Schulen abgeschnitten sind. Hunderttausende von Menschen haben sich aus Verzweiflung selbst getötet. Die Wohnungen sind vorzeitig gestorben, da ihnen in den Kliniken die nötige medizinische Versorgung versagt geblieben ist. Das allein, und da reden wir noch nicht von der sogenannten Impfung, die gar keine Impfung ist, das allein schon in den letzten 15 Monaten Schulprojekt mit Namen Corona hat der Genozid unter unseren Augen nicht passiert. Allein in 15 Monaten also bei weitem mehr Menschen getötet, als in 12 Jahren getötet worden. Dieser Genozid wird unter unseren Augen von echt verbunden damit, dass es viele Millionen Menschen gibt, die freiwillig sind. Das heißt, wenn wir den Genozid heute mit dem Genozid jener 12 Jahre vergleichen, dann wäre das eine
Right, we're going to have Craig Hassel of the Beach.
Hello, my name's Karina. I'm not part of any group. I live in Galway and I'm a mother, and I stand here because I don't have a choice. I have to stand here. The Athenian philosopher Plato said, "No one is more hated than he who speaks the truth." And isn't that right? People hate us. People call us every name under the sun. We're not in this together. That's the truth. If you don't believe me that we're not in it together, Oxfam just told us we're not in it together. Inequality during the COVID-19 lockdown has worsened, and the socio-economic gap has widened to the world's biggest megachasm ever. Globally, workers lost $3.7 trillion during this pandemic lockdowns. Who won? Who was the biggest winners? Supermarkets are the biggest pandemic winners. And who are the biggest losers? Women workers. They're the biggest pandemic losers. The supermarkets are the big winners of the crisis. Senior executives and wealthy shareholders, they took home 98% of the profits. They didn't share it. But the people we call essential workers, frontline workers, they saw their incomes stagnate or fall during pandemic lockdowns. Millions more, in fact, became millionaires during the COVID-19 pandemic. While the poor got poorer, 5.2 million people became millionaires during the COVID-19 lockdowns. There's now 56.1 million millionaires on the planet. And who stole all the money? Where did the money go? Why, the 5 horsemen of the apocalypse. Amazon's Bezos stole 48 billion. Zoom's Eric Yuan stole 2.5 billion. Ex-Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer stole 16 billion. Casino magnate, while we're at home in lockdown and gambling, Sheldon Anderson stole 5 billion. Elon Musk stole $17 billion during the COVID-19 lockdowns. Greta Research, the Greta Research, of course, works for Elon Musk, and she supports, it's called the flattening and vacuuming of the ocean floors for minerals for electric cars. The pandemic has led to one of the greatest wealth transfers in history. That's the reality. That's the truth. We are all carrying the same burden, the financial burden and the economic burden due to COVID-19 lockdowns. Are you in the hospitality and tourism sector? Irish Minister for Tourism Brendan Griffin said, in the space of a few short weeks, the Irish tourism sector was decimated and many tourist businesses have been written off in 2020. If you want to fight and save your industry, we are on your side. Stand with us. Are you a new Irish startup? The number of new Irish startups companies this year were 30% less than last year. If you want to fight and save your business, we are on your side. Stand with us. Are you unemployed? Unemployment jumped to 25% during the COVID-19 lockdown. 600,000 people in this country are out of work. If you want a job, stand with us. We are on your side. Have you had to use a food bank, perhaps? Plenty have. Restrictions and job losses saw an unprecedented demand for food banks. The UK saw a 47% increase in people needing food banks, and food banks are being threatened with closure. If you don't want to use a food bank or see them close, we are on your side. Stand with us. We all carry the same mental health burden due to COVID-19 lockdowns. The demand for mental health and suicide prevention services soared during the COVID-19 lockdowns. Isolation, lack of social interaction, financial stress and fear has driven a mental health crisis. A HSE specialist says we have a tsunami of mental health needs that will persist for months or years and be compounded by the economic effects of the pandemic. Are you depressed, psychotic or suicidal or have a loved one who is? We are on your side. Stand with us against these restrictions. We all carry the same physical health burdens due to the COVID-19 lockdowns. COVID-19 lockdowns created a cancer pandemic. 1 million cancers have gone undiagnosed in Europe. Irish public health chiefs say that 2,000 cancers in Ireland have been misdiagnosed, not diagnosed as a result of COVID-19 lockdowns. Do you know someone who was misdiagnosed because of these restrictions due to lockdowns? If so, stand with us. We are on your side. Was your maternity care impacted by COVID-19 lockdowns? Trinity College says that the COVID-19 lockdowns and the restrictions to maternity services saw elective caesarean rates, caesareans in general, and induced labours rise. If you don't want maternity services scaled back again, we are on your side. Stand with us. We need feet on the ground. We are all threatened with mandatory vaccines, all of us. HIGA recently told NEFET that healthcare workers who refuse the COVID-19 vaccine will be redeployed to a lower risk area, continually tested and having to wear PPE. And why do they need a vaccine exactly? In October 2020, our Taylor University Hospital study found that 20% of healthcare workers already had antibodies to COVID-19. This is no conspiracy. A BioNTech poll said 50% of nurses and 25% of doctors refused the COVID-19 vaccine. The Kaiser Family Foundation in the US now say 50% of all US health workers have refused the COVID-19 vaccine. If you are a healthcare worker threatened with mandatory vaccination, we are on your side. Stand with us. John Lennon said, "The people have the power. All we have to do is awaken the power in the people." The power is being unleashed in Poland. There's mobs of protesters protesting against mandatory vaccines now. The University of Warsaw says 40% of Polish people don't want this vaccine. Are you a student? They're coming for you with a needle. We are on your side. Stand with us. Hundreds of colleges in the US have already said the COVID-19 vaccine will be mandatory. Not all students plan to comply. They plan to march. There's mobs of students protesting in the US now against mandatory vaccines. Do you work in the courthouse, perhaps? They're coming for you with the needle. Protests are gathering outside Dayton Montgomery Courthouse as we speak against mandatory COVID-19 vaccines. We are on your side. Stand with us. If you don't want the health system to collapse, stand with us against mandatory vaccines. 150 employees at a Houston hospital who refused the COVID-19 vaccine were fired or resigned. This will cause the health system to collapse. Do you work for the airlines, perhaps? We are on your side. Stand with us. 195,000 jobs were lost because of COVID-19 lockdowns. Hundreds of pilots last week, cabin crew, travel agents, protested against restrictions, COVID restrictions outside the Palace of Westminster. We are on your side. Stand with us. Are you a musician or an artist looking to save your industry? We are on your side. Stand with us. 100 demonstrators last week were protesting outside the door. A little hint, don't protest in a mask. If you wear a mask, you're complicit in the destruction of your own industry. These emergency COVID laws are both illegal and immoral. The Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission report says the government has persistently blurred the boundary between legal requirements and public health guidance. We have only government and NEFET. We have no opportunity for the Oireachtas to scrutinise human rights and equality laws in this country presently. Data enforcement of the emergency COVID-19 powers disproportionately affects the young, ethnic and racial minorities, the traveller and the Roma communities. If you stand for human rights and equality, stand with us. We are on your side. George Orwell said, there was truth and then there was untruth. And if you clung to the truth, even against the whole world, you were not mad. We ain't mad like in cuckoo, mad. We're mad like in, yeah, we've had the F enough of being told what to do, what to say and how to live. If you've had enough of the fear-mongering and the lying, cheating, finagling and bullying experts and authorities, join us. Stand with us. We are on your side. We need feet on the ground to stand against these mandatory vaccines. Desmond Tutu said, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. Get off the fence, people. Get off the fence and join us. Rise up. Rise up. They want us to shut up. Are we going to shut up? No, we're not going to shut up. They want us to obey. Are we going to obey? No, we're not going to obey. They want us to comply and take our shot. Are we going to comply, people? No, we're not going to comply. No way, Jose. We will not obey. No way, Jose. We will not obey. No way, Jose. We will not obey. Music.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you very much. Right, welcome to everyone for coming here, and thank you. I'd like to mention that last night we had an event in Dublin, in St. Stephen's Green, with two young lads that showed up to it. There's another crowd, but there's two young lads who were talking, and their names are John Caulfield and Alex Daly. Yeah. And their speeches were shared all over online. The video was taken last night, and it's already on 16,000 views. So they've been shared by some fairly high-profile people. So well done to John and Alex. They gave their voice. The idea behind the rally at St. Stephen Green was to give young people the chance to have their voice heard. And their voice was heard. And for Alex, it was his first time public speaking. And if you see the video, you wouldn't think that it's his first time. Now, I'm sure you're all aware of the Delta and the Delta Plus variants that they're going to use. And they're going to go, oh, autumn time, we're going to have to lock down again. Everyone back inside their houses. Yeah, good little sheep. We're not going to do that. They're going to go level 5. But no, level 5, never again. Level 5, never again. We're not doing it. No.
No. I just said one thing.
Now, RTE claims that they are the most trustworthy news source, that the people of Ireland see them as the most trustworthy. Now, it's not just total bullshit. You know, who here actually trusts RTE? Everyone knows they like us. Everyone knows RTE are talking absolute rubbish. They've lied to all of us. And they portray the youth as scumbags. That's what they say. Oh, the young people are out enjoying themselves. What scumbags there? Yeah, fair play to the guards for beating the shite out of them. That's what RTE are saying. But no. RTE are telling lies. They lie to the Irish people. And RTE, the entire country despises you. They despise you.
I was going to appreciate everyone, yeah? But you wouldn't give me a chance to talk.
No, były drobne przejściowe problemy, ale już po wszystkim.
Right. The government wants us to fight over the scraps they give us. They want us to fight over the pump. They want us to fight over vaccines and stuff like that. But we're not going to fight over scrap. The free people of Ireland demand total freedom and nothing short of it. We demand our country back. We demand it all. We demand total control of Irish destiny and nothing short of it. I say to the Irish people, never settle for anything less than total freedom on our island, because it is yours and you deserve it. I love Ireland. I love the Irish people. I love the Irish culture. And it breaks my heart to see Ireland be brought to her knees by those that sell her out to the highest bidder. Ireland is not for sale. We must call in the name of the Most High God, as our ancestors did, for the deliverance of this great land from evil. God bless Ireland. God save Ireland. God save Ireland. Right, I'd like to invite our next speaker up, and he is the ex-mayor of Galway. So Niall, if you'd like to come up.
Hello there. Thank you very much, Dan, and thank you very much for inviting me to speak today. Neil O'Brellicon is my name, and I am, as Dan said, former mayor of Galway City, and also I was a health spokesperson in Shannon previously. So I mean, I want to add my voice to those calling for an end to lockdown. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm not used to microphones these days. I used to be well used to them. But Ayr Square is a great place, and it's great to see so many people here enjoying themselves. I've been at many Patrick's Day parades here over the years, and it's absolutely extraordinary. For the last 2 years, I've been here on St. Patrick's Day, and the place has been empty. And that's been very sad, as far as I'm concerned, really, really sad. And it is wonderful to see so many people enjoying themselves, sitting out, having drinks out in the, the places in Ayr Square, sitting around the square, just generally having a good time. It's very important. I'm here today not to shout and roar like the previous very passionate speakers, but really just to say that I am calling on the Irish government to end lockdown immediately. I have written to every single TD and senator in the country, asking them when are we going to finish this lockdown, because the interesting thing is we seem to be in a constant state of emergency. Even now, while lockdown, is there a lockdown at the moment? Does anybody know that? Is this a lockdown? It is. There are certain things locked down. I mean, I've been teaching in the college, and I've been teaching online. I go to the university here, which is a key part of this city. I love this city. And, the university is empty. It's a very, very sad thing to see. Many of the things that I've seen around this city have been very sad. It's been very sad to see Shop Street with all the shops shut in the past. And I hope that never happens again. I'm worried now. I mean, people are saying, look, lockdown is over. It's not over, unfortunately. We're in the middle of a lockdown. But I'd like to just do a bit of a survey here. I mean, is there anybody here who wants to see an indefinite lockdown happening in Ireland? Is there anybody? Yeah. The guy over here says yeah. Do you want to tell us why? No, he's only joking. Okay, that's grand. Well, listen, I don't think that's where the Irish people are at. I don't think the Irish people want to see lockdown going on forever. I would like to particularly commend young people, because I think that young people actually deserve a huge round of applause from everybody, because they really do deserve massive credit, because what young people have done. Well, thanks. I'll come to the applause in a minute, but the fact is, what have young people done here? What they've done is, young people are not under risk from COVID. Statistics, the facts show that out, and yet young people have been asked en masse to lock down, to stay in their homes, to keep away from older people, to not live their lives, to put their lives on hold for a year. And what have they done? They've complied. They've agreed to do that for the sake of the elderly, because it's the older people in nursing homes. This leaflet here says clearly, and it's correct, I've checked it out on the HSBC website, 83 is the average age of people who've died. Half the people in the country have died in nursing homes. And it isn't people who are sitting in their houses who are perfectly healthy and who are not going out into the street who actually have caused those people to die. The reason that those people unfortunately have died is, one, because they're very old. The second one is because they have, many of them have serious conditions. And the third one is, of course, because they catch COVID, which tips them over the edge. But many of them have caught COVID because people from hospitals who got COVID in the hospitals have been moved into the nursing homes. I mean, what sort of a policy is that? If the government had actually taken care of that and done what countries like Denmark had done and Finland had done, then they wouldn't have seen the levels of death that we have seen. They would have seen considerably less. Denmark has the same population as Ireland, and there's only half as many people have died. It has roughly the same number of cases, but only about half the number of people have died. In Finland, it's 1/5 of the people, because they have a much better health service than we do. It's sad. It's sad for me to understand that. There are other countries who've done worse than we have. But none of us want to see people dying. None of us want to see people getting harmed. Not one single one of us do. But the reality is that we have to take everything into consideration. The government has to take everything into consideration, not just a few things. It has to take into consideration that there is damage also being done to people's health by lockdown. So when you ask people to lock down, there are issues of mental health. There's the issues of people who are looking for emergency services, for screening for cancer. And I feel very sorry for cervical cancer patients, because, my goodness, I feel very sorry for people with breast cancer. But we had the whole cervical cancer scandal, and now we're not screening people. There's a huge backlog in terms of that. I really do feel sorry for people. And there are some consultants who are saying that there's a 10-year legacy from the lockdown we've even had in terms of cancer deaths, And I think that's tragic. But the government has to take that into consideration too. And I feel that really we're getting to a point where things really have to open up. And finally, I'm going to say something that I know some people won't agree with here entirely. But that's the people who should be really crying out for an end to lockdown are everybody who's been vaccinated. Because what was sold to people who've been vaccinated is, my goodness, once you've been vaccinated, we can all open up and everything will be great. But that hasn't been the reality for many people. We're getting there. We're getting there. But we're getting to the point where there is no longer any genuine reason for keeping us locked down. I know that there are going to be an upsurge in respiratory illnesses in the autumn. Everybody knows that. It's a fact. It happens every single year. It has happened every single year since I've been alive, and it'll happen this year again. According to the HSBC, there is zero influenza in this country at the moment, yet the likes of Boris Johnson, where there is zero influenza in the UK at the moment, there are no cases. I don't mean that there are 2 or 3 cases or a few cases. There are actually 0 reported cases in both these islands at the moment. You can check that out. That's actually the case. And yet Boris Johnson is talking about the dangers of a massive influenza outbreak in the autumn. Now, that might happen. I don't know how it will. I don't know where that influenza will come from. If it does happen, it happens. But did we lock down because of influenza? But it now appears that there's a possibility that we are going to lock down because of influenza. We cannot live in a perpetual state of emergency. And finally, I would just refer to this document, which is Bunreacht na hÉireann, the Irish Constitution, which I believe in. This document is being written roughshod over, unfortunately, by our government and by the opposition. And I have to point out that the opposition are very much to blame in the whole situation now. Because the reality is that we have a government and an opposition. That's how our democracy works. And what we have is a government who is basically doing its best in its own way to keep people safe. That's its position. But the opposition, what they're doing is they're not actually asking a lot of questions. There's only about 3 TDs in the Dáil who are actually questioning the measures which are being put in place. A democracy requires people to ask questions. It requires us to talk. And one of the big problems we have is that the human internet that exists in Ireland has been shut down. And the human internet is actually what I would call the pubs and the cafes, because that's where we communicate traditionally in Ireland. We traditionally communicate in the pubs and the cafes. There was a situation until recently where we simply couldn't discuss things, and that is just not on. The Constitution says that we have the right to assembly. It says that we have the right to freedom of speech. And I've been talking at many rallies here. I've talked in front of, there was one rally we had which literally had 3,500 people signed a petition in Eyre Square to save these trees here, many of them. And I'm glad we did, and I'm looking at them, and it's a beautiful square. We've had many petitions against various different wars. There's been discussions on Palestine. Eyre Square is a very, very important place, and that is why it works. It's because it is a place where there is respect. We don't see a line of policemen or Gardaí coming to baton charges here, because Eyre Square is a place of respect. Galway is a place of respect. It's a place of culture. It's a place of art. It's a place of many, many things that people value. It is a great, great city, but it has to be allowed to get back on its feet, and it has to be allowed to get back on its feet by not locking down. And finally, I just want to go back to the youngsters, because younger people have been asked to do a really big job for older people. They've done that job. The 3 weeks to flatten the curve is gone. It's over. We're now into a situation where we're facing perpetual semi-lockdown. We're in remission at the moment, but we're heading towards a situation where in the autumn we will be locked down again. And I'm afraid I just don't feel that's appropriate. We have to come to an end. The question I would ask, when exactly, of our politicians, is when exactly and under what circumstances can we get out of this? Because as I think it was Karina or somebody said, 25% unemployment. We've also got, I think, the highest rate of national debt in the EU per capita, which is appalling. We're going to have to pay the financial reckoning sooner or later, and the sooner we get on with it, the better. So let's keep things going. Let's get our businesses open. Let's get our shoe shops open. We have them open now, thank God. It took me 9 months to buy these shoes. I'm not going to buy them online. We really, really, really do need to make sure that we keep this going. We keep these protests going, as various people have said. And yes, thank you very much indeed over there. Come on, another bit of that. But anyway, the final thing I want to do is to say thank you to all the younger people who have put their lives on hold for a year. And I think it's about time now that us older people say thank you to you and to say, listen, it's time for you guys to get on with your lives. Thank you.
Just more break it.
Okay, folks, thank you very much for that. It was an excellent speech. Next, we'd like to invite Shakti. Say a few words.
Hello, everybody. Rise up, Erin. Rise up, Galway. Unite the tribes. Back again in Galway. Well, this is a spiritual battle, if you haven't noticed. This is a battle between light and dark, good and bad. And there's some very evil forces out there. And they're the people, the ones who are behind this, orchestrating it. And you might think it's about a virus, but it's not. And I didn't know how to get through to people. And I was like, it's not about a virus, guys. This is Agenda 30. So we started printing T-shirts just to try and get it into your head. We'll be a walking protest.
It's about Agenda 30. It's about Agenda 21, which has just been implemented. Agenda 30 stands for 2030, and then Agenda 50 stands for 2050. This is not going away. This is not going away. So we need to understand that this was never about a virus. They're using this fake pandemic as a guise to implement the New World Order. There is no deadly virus out there. And I have a lot of compassion. I'm not against anything. I'm not anti-anything. Oh no. Because I see us as one collective consciousness, as one. I'm not against people wearing masks. Oh no. I can really, really have a lot of compassion for the fear that these people are residing in, because that was me once. I was there too. I was scared and I faced my fears. But I have a lot of compassion for the people who haven't. The wounded adults. I'm not against you. Until you wake up, I will fight for you with these people for our freedom. Because under the fake pandemic, the guise of a fake virus, our land has been sieged. Now Leo Varadkar is talking about us having a united Ireland. If we want it, we'll have to give up our anthem and our flag, he said. Are you aware of that? Are you ready to give up your anthem and your flag for Leo Varadkar? Are you aware that Leo Varadkar actually resigned last year, 2020? Are you aware? What's he still doing there? We're the strong men of Ireland that should be pulling him out. Are you aware that none of us, not one of you, not me, none of us voted for the government? None of us. They're self-elected. What does that make them? It makes them terrorists. There's terrorists in the Dáil. But you don't notice because you're covering your face with a mask and you're watching RTE and you're falling for the propaganda, and I have so much compassion. It's really, really sad to see people make big mistakes and they don't realize that every time they put on the mask, a mark of submission, they're just throwing away our children's future. It really triggers me, but I try not to fight against anything. I am not anti anything because that is a low level frequency, fear frequency. It's what they want. They want us to be angry and they want us to fight. No, I'm pro-solutions. I'm not against you. Come to the light. Because if you're residing in fear, you're in a dark place. And that's where they want you, because that fear is the only thing they have to control you. This is a spiritual battle. Dark and light. Good and evil. Pick a side. Follow the light and the love, and that's what's going to save us. We've been given a monumental task here, and it came to me actually 3 years before the lockdown. I was meditating within the UK actually, and the divine told me that I had a duty to unite the tribes. And I didn't really quite understand what the meditation meant, but what a monumental task, because it's really hard to keep everybody happy. And some people won't go to the protest because that person's going, and then far rights and the middles and the lefts and all these names were being called. Stop calling us names, you're missing the message. We will never all agree, never. But we can find things that we can have in common. Very basic things. We're all of one race, and that's the human race. And the human race and humanity is under attack in the whole world. So put your differences aside if you want to unite, and unite for the children. We don't have time to fight over whose God is better. Pray to God that we can get through this. We don't have time to fight over what group you're from or where you're coming from. We have to fight for the children because they're innocent and they can't fight. We're their role models. So what kind of role models are we? Is this what you want for our children's future? Masks, telling them to cover their faces, and a mark of submission to pedophile slaves. What has happened? We have entered the twilight zone. Wake up. The new normal is way more twisted than the last normal. Both of them don't work. So it's up to us to create the world we want to live in. How are we going to do that? We have to unite. And that means you can't be anti-maskers. And you can't be anti-vaccine. Because if we believe that in the light and in our faith, then we have the ability to heal ourselves, and we can heal these sick people too. So don't worry about that stuff. Become in this state of consciousness where we see each other as one, because we have to survive this together. This is human nature, and if we all die, we all go. So it's in our best interest to see us as a collective team. We're not against anybody. We don't want to see people dying. But a lot of people think that more people have died than they actually have. It's not a real pandemic, because if you look on the CSO website, the deaths last year were only up 500 in Ireland. That's not a pandemic. That could have been from suicide alone. And people...
Co, nie słychać nic kompletnie? To, że się nie odzywam, to jest w miarę normalne, ale że kompletnie nic nie słychać, to jestem w szoku. No to już ciężko nadążyć za komentarzami i się nie wypieprzyć po drodze. No i super. Cieszę się. Ale troszeczkę pogodę nie dopisuję. O, można nadrobić kilka metrów.
Tu potrzebny jest brak truskawki do busa. Brak truskawki płynie do busa. Brak truskawki płynie do busa. Idź bracie na wojenkę, straszny lęk, a będziesz żył przez wiek. A gdy kochasz się na nic, nie są serdeczny ból. Wykuruję cię doszczętnie serce parę kul. Chory strzech, idź bracie na wojenkę, straszny lęk, a będziesz żył przez wiek. Chory strzech, idź bracie na wojenkę, straszny lęk, a będziesz żył przez wiek.
Posłuchajcie, raz, dwa, trzy. I gazety przeczytajcie, raz, dwa, trzy. Są wesołe nowinki, gdzie pobór na dziewczynki. Raz, dwa, trzy.
Najpiękniejsze z okolicy, raz, dwa, trzy. Przeznaczają do granicy, raz, dwa, trzy. Ta, która nie ma ochoty, to ją wezmą do piechoty. Raz, dwa, trzy. Puchem pierwszy z warszawianek, raz, dwa, trzy. Ma się nazwać pukułanek, raz, dwa, trzy. Wielkie wezmą do dragonu, stary padle do furgonu. Raz, dwa, trzy. Wszyscy grube i metale, raz, dwa, trzy. Posadzają na armaty, raz, dwa, trzy. A gdzie będą twierdze puste, sadzimy żydowski tłuste. Raz, dwa, trzy. Raz, dwa, trzy. Syn truskawki pilnie do truskawki na rowerze. Syn truskawki pilnie do truskawki na rowerze. O, już widzę. Raz, raz, raz. Tempo jest potrzebne. Te, co pięknie wyśpiewują. Raz, dwa, trzy. Na tebaczy się promują. Raz, dwa, trzy. A co ciągle wykrzykują. Do doboszy i serwują. Raz, dwa, trzy. Była panna urodziwa, raz, dwa, trzy. Będzie w wojsku dość szczęśliwa, raz, dwa, trzy. Weźmy szlify, akcelanty, tak jak mają adjutanty. Raz, dwa, trzy. Wygadane porucznikiem, raz, dwa, trzy. Wykształcone pułkownikiem, raz, dwa, trzy. Gdy będzie chłopców kochała, dojdzie stopnia generała. Raz, dwa, trzy. Gdy Bernardyn się dowiedział, raz, dwa, trzy. I już w klasztorze nie wysiedział, raz, dwa, trzy. I wybrał się z takim planem, by mógł zostać kapelanem. Raz, dwa, trzy.
Join in, get used to singing together because eventually we're all going to...
Trzeba powiedzieć, że tempo mają tutaj chłopaki. I dziewczyny również.
Uwaga, kamratki i kamraci! Przechodzimy. Po lewej stronie ambasada LGBT. Ambasada LGBT z LGBT-owską flagą. Oto schyłek imperium. Zjednoczone Stany LGBT. Cokolwiek to znaczy, ma kolor brązowy i cuchnie. Stany Zjednoczone LGBT. Imperium, którego już nie ma. Imperium, gdzie białe kobiety całują po butach obcych mężczyzn. Imperium LGBT. Zobaczcie, takie było piękne, amerykańskie. I nic z tego nie zostało. Proszę bardzo, kto umie gwizdać, ten gwizdże. Jan Kasi do domu, 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 Jan Kasi do domu. Tam czekają na was wasi śliczni chłopcy. Jan Kasi do domu, Jan Kasi do domu. Zjednoczone Stany LGBT, cokolwiek to znaczy. Dajemy świniaka za rozszyfrowanie tego skrótu. Nawet mi przez usta nie przejdzie. Proszę bardzo, wstydu nie mają. Na polskiej ziemi takie coś. A na Węgrzech już tak nie można. Bo Orban zabronił tej sześciokolorowej znaczki. Tak jest, wyjdziemy bliżej. Jan Kasi do domu, Jan Kasi do domu. Tak jest. Bo prawdziwa para to jest Waldemar i Alina, a nie Waldemar i Waldemar. Dobra być! Wygryźmy to, niech ambasador się wyniesie! Za nasze tu siedzi! Albo oni są biedni! Wszystko im fundujemy! Dobre! Dawaj synek, idzie dres idzie! Sikanica, napój! A potem jagódki! Hej! Woda ci musi dać, dawaj się tam!
But we are connected spiritually and completely. That's probably quite cheap, but we'll talk about that's a different story. Okay, so I have got other songs that aren't Bob Marley, but this is one I want to sing for everybody. I know you're going to know it. Should have been. Okay, let's try this.
forces and furthermore resist vaccines because they're dangerous. Our general slogan is resist. Revelation happens. Resist the people resist. Defy.
Please sing. About a thing, come here and you wanna hear it. Because every little thing is gonna be alright. Sing it alright. About a thing. Because every little thing gonna be alright. Yeah. I'll rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. Spread your bird, sit by my doorstep, singing sweet songs. I'm melody pure and true. Sing it, bro. This is my message to you. All together. Sing it
siedział raz, dwa, trzy i wybrał się z takim trafem, będą wrostek kapelanem. Raz, dwa, trzy.
Halo? Uwaga, dobra, Uwaga, kamratki i kamratki! Zbliżamy się do pomnika Witosa. Witos, wielki syn narodu polskiego, chłop z chłopów. Jakby to powiedzieli polskojęzyczni, to polski cham! I my jesteśmy polscy chamy i się nigdy Witosa nie wyparliśmy. Dawaj, maszerujemy do przodu, kolumna. Witos był człowiekiem niezłomnym, nie poddał się, nie poszedł na łapówy, pilnował polskiego interesu narodowego. Był tak honorowy, że nawet schował dymisję Piłsudskiego, kiedy ten ofajdany ze strachu uciekł z Warszawy. Na szczęście zostawił dowództwo generałowi Rozwadowskiemu. Kamraci, wiwat na cześć Witosa pamięci! Wiwat! 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 To człowiek, który jeszcze pod zaborami wykuwał polski interes narodowy i nie dygał przed austriacko-żydowską arystokracją. Miał ich w dupie! Polak niewystraszony i nigdy krawata nie założył. Krawat to nic takiego złego, ale ta manifestacja była ważna. Zgodnie z tekstem piosenki, nigdy z panami nie będzie w aliansach, nikt przed tchórzostwem nie pochylił szyi. Proszę państwa, szkoda, że Witos nie patrzy przed siebie. Szkoda, że nie patrzy za siebie, bo za sobą ma tak zwany Sejm. Tak zwany Sejm. Tak zwany Sejm. Tak zwany Senat. Wszystko udawane. Wszystko nieprawdziwe. Politycy funta kłaków niewarci, którzy nas wpychają w nędzę i wojnę. Przyjdzie na nich pora. Jeszcze raz. Uwaga, kolumna. Na prawo, patrz. Witosa widać. Machamy do niego flagami. Jego duch jest wśród nas. Czołem, panie marszałku Witos. Ja sobie tak marzę, że na Placu Trzech Krzyży kiedyś stanie jeszcze jeden pomnik. Zamordowanego Andrzeja Lepera. Zamordowanego Andrzeja Lepera. Andrzej Leper jest wśród nas. Zawołam Andrzej Leper, a wy krzykniecie obecny. Andrzej Leper! Obecny! Andrzej Leper! Obecny! Andrzej Leper! Obecny! Tak jest. Dawaj, synku, medycyny naszych czasów, bo to sama prawda jest. Bo te nasze medyki, te nasze pseudomedyki, te nasze ministry, one wszystko wiedzą o pandemii. Ona jest wtedy, kiedy oni mówią, że jest. Dawaj! I lub!
Z medycyny naszej dobrej wierzymy. Szczęście
Uwaga, uwaga! Uwaga, kamraci! Po waszej lewej stronie świeża, młoda para. Młodzi Polacy, mężczyzna i kobieta będą sobie ślubować miłość i wierność. Maszerujemy! Szczęścia, zdrowia dla młodej pary! Życzą wam polscy nacjonaliści! Rozmnażajcie się ku naszej radości, a waszej starości! Niech wam nigdy pieniędzy nie zabraknie, a miłość się pali jak wulkan! Wszystkiego dobrego na nowej drodze życia! Pamiętajcie, polski interes narodowy jest waszym interesem! Wszystkiego dobrego! Mam nadzieję, że wesele będzie na 1000 osób, tak żeby pana Niedzielskiego szlak trafił! Szczęścia, zdrowia dla młodej pary! Trzykrotne! Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip! Bo to wiecie, koledzy, niedługo jak będziemy mieli 10. marsz, to już będziemy mogli tutaj widzieć, jak piękny chłopczyk pięknego chłopczyka odprowadza. I na to trzeba liczyć, ale na to nie ma naszej zgody. Fara patologii! Fara! 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 Konrad, dawaj tę medycynę na full!
Wojną leczy się chory człowiek, idź bracie na wojenkę, straw ten lęk, a będziesz żył przez wiek. Chory człowiek, idź bracie na wojenkę, straw ten lęk, a będziesz żył przez wiek. Cierpisz bracie na zaparcie od szeregu dni, niech to przyjdzie pierwsze starcie, więcej zrób aż mi. Chory człowiek, idź bracie na wojenkę, straw ten lęk, a będziesz żył przez wiek. Chory człowiek, idź bracie na wojenkę, straw ten lęk, a będziesz żył przez wiek. Mężczyzny romaty z drogą w nogę, nie jak piec, granat kuchnie i wraz z nogą pójdą górę w ręce.
Całkiem fajne miejsce znalazłeś.
Idź bracie na wojenkę, straw ten lęk, a będziesz żył przez wiek. Chory człowiek, idź bracie na wojenkę, straw ten lęk, a będziesz żył przez wiek. Oby był na zapuszczenie, aż w oczach ból. Nasze przyjemne ćwiczenie, a już stracił czół. Chory
Jak się podoba? Jest super.
a będziesz żył przez wiek. Chory człowiek, idź bracie na wojenkę, straw ten lęk, a będziesz żył przez wiek. Choć ci w piersi serce drga, także zabiera dech. Pójdziesz na Moskali w atak, będziesz grał za trzech. Chory człowiek, idź bracie na wojenkę, straw ten lęk.
Before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. No more weeping. No more.
Liberały! Mecz kobiet dobrego! Ożeł
I nadganiamy. No nie wiem, nie widziałem nikogo z TVN-u. Kolorowo, kolorowo.
Szanowni Państwo, przypominamy Wam, że za chwileczkę zbliżymy się do ronda de Gaulle'a, ono już jest tuż przed nami i niestety samochody nie zostały wpuszczone na trasę przemarszu. W związku z czym dalej korzystajcie ze swoich praw obywatelskich. Ja z Wojtkiem będę szedł na początku, muszę mieć kontakt niestety z policją. Jedziemy i wy wszyscy, my wszyscy idziemy dalej traktem królewskim. Samochody odjadą na bok. Spotkamy się dopiero z nagłośnieniem pod Zamkiem Królewskim. Przykro mi bardzo, mimo tych przeszkód damy sobie radę.
Halo, czujesz mnie? Kamraci, na lewo budynek Centralnego Komitetu Polskiej Zjednoczonej Partii Robotniczej. Naród zbudował ten budynek dla siebie. Teraz są tu różne inwestycje. Na przykład giełda papierów wartościowych. Coś, co tak naprawdę nie istnieje. Jeden Żyd powiedział, że makler giełdowy to jest ktoś taki, kto tak długo obraca twoimi pieniędzmi, aż one nie znikną. Na tym polega ta ich księgowość. I teraz uważajcie. De Gaulle, jak go zwał, tak to zwał, był pełen podziwu dla Polski, zniósł bardzo piękne hasło. Zawsze najbardziej polskie ze wszystkich miast. Bardzo mu za to dziękujemy, podoba nam się to. A teraz uważajcie. Na znak panowania żydostwa w Polsce postawiono nam palmę nam postawiono na rondzie de Gaulle'a. My się na te palmy nie zgadzamy, nie ma zgody na te palmę. Uważajcie. Bartłomiej Kurzeja już opracowuje rzeźbę dębu Bartka. Będzie większy od tej palmy i będzie ze spiżu. Będzie stał na tym miejscu z żołędziami i będzie można pod niego podchodzić, robić sobie zdjęcia, a wieść głosi, że panna młoda, jak podejdzie pod dom Bartka i obejdzie go 2 razy w prawo, urodzi bliźniaki płci żeńskiej. 2 razy w lewo, bliźniaki płci męskiej. Na pochybel tej palmie niech ją szlak trafi. Nie chcemy tej żydowskiej palmy w Warszawie. Ona nas kosztuje 1 000 000 złotych rocznie. Ludzie, my dajemy 1 000 000 złotych rocznie na plastik i fałszerstwo. Dobra, idziemy dalej, prosto. Marcin, ojcze dyrektorze, dawaj k nam tutaj, chłopie, bo bez ciebie tu my nigdzie nie zajdziemy. Dawaj, samochody nas odjeżdżają. Pamiętajcie, wojna nie matka, wróg nie ojciec.
Na matkę mówimy, całujemy w rączkę, zginiemy z honorem, a do wroga mamy tylko taki tekst. Śmierć wrogom ojczyzny! Śmierć wrogom ojczyzny! Śmierć wrogom ojczyzny! Kochani, Wojtek kończy nas! Wojtek kończymy! Nie kończymy, tylko idziemy! Kończymy
Already gone to the press, and in 2 weeks' time we'll have plenty of these. But at the moment we've got a limited supply. So what I've been asked to do is to get these to the people who need them, where they'll be the most effective. So this may sound unusual to activists, but we need to use these papers to stop, to cause the people who are rolling out the lockdowns, the vaccines, all those things, we need to get this to them, because that is where it stops. If the guards are unwilling to execute their orders, it stops. If the nurses are unwilling to stand over bad practice, it stops. You know, if the teachers stop teaching nonsense, it stops. You know, once we have the reasons to defy, once we build the confidence in the people to defy, that's where it stops. So I can't give these newspapers out to our own people. These newspapers need to go out to hairdressing salons. They need to go out to Garda stations, hospitals, and schools. So that's what, if you are a teacher, if you're a nurse, or you know a guard who you can give one of these to, you're welcome to one. But only if it goes to those sources. Next month, we'll have plenty of these, and there'll be a free district. So here we go. Real news headlines. What the people need to hear. Headline of the first edition: vaccine deaths soar. Vaccine deaths soar. That is what people need to know. That vaccine deaths are soaring. There are thousands and thousands of deaths soaring in Europe from people who have received this vaccine. Those are the European figures. Those are reported from the hospitals, and they're probably only a fraction of the reality. We know people who have died after taking the vaccine. We know people who have died from strokes. And I'm sure if you go to Galway Hospital now, there will be people in those beds not knowing quite what happened to them, but had the vaccine maybe 3 weeks ago. You know, that's the reality of what's happening. So I'd say I'm not going to, another thing to, it's great what we're doing here. These events have been fantastic since we started across the road, and you know, it's built and it's gone so well. So we have been down in Tralee doing this, we've been down in Limerick doing this, and we've been in Mayo doing this. And so we've had the rallies week after week all across the West, and we've held the line on all of this. We've held the line on all of this in the West. So, but I think there needs to be something else happening. Seeing it's going so well, we need to do more targeted activism. So I personally am going to stop doing the rallies, and I'm going to start doing the leafleting and handing out these newspapers.
Zobaczyć, co jest w tym miejscu. Jesteście wspaniali.
Musimy się poruszać kolumną! Idziemy dalej, do przodu! Do przodu ruszajcie! Nasze ulice! Nasze kamienice! Nasze ulice! Nasze kamienice! Nasze ulice! Nasze kamienice! Nasze ulice! Nasze kamienice! Nasze ulice! Amerykanie do domu! Mamy swoje! Precz komuną! Precz komuną! Precz komuną! Amerykanie do domu! Krzyczymy! Tu jest Polska! A nie wojną! 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 Amerykanie do domu!
As parents, as the protectors of those children, because nobody else really cares what happens to your children. The rest of the world will use them for whatever they can get out of them. They will use them for procedures, they will use them for whatever. They will indoctrinate them, they will all kinds of things. Only you are the ones who have their welfare and their care at heart. So that is why we're going to be outside the school gates if they ever dare to try and vaccinate the children. So that's what we need to do, and that's why we need to be doing targeted activism as well as rallies. So I'm going to be stepping back a bit from the rallies, and I'm going to be focusing on the targeted activism. And in the end, these are the game changers. These events, these conflicts that develop, those are the things which are the game changers. That's what turns this all around. Events, that's what politicians are afraid of. And that's what we need to make happen. We need to provoke these dragons from their dens, and we need to slay them. And that's how we do them. So God bless you all. Thanks very much. Keep a lookout for this, and we keep going. Thanks very much, Shannon.
Right, I'm interested to see what this fella has on his leaflet here. I can't see it if you're shaking it. Life begins at the cross. Okay, well, we'll be on for that, alright. Okay. Right, so now we're just going to take a small bit of a break. We'll have a few more speakers, but if anyone wants to come up to us and talk to us, ask us why we believe what we believe, yeah, or any of that sort of thing, just come up. So yeah.
Baterii jesteśmy nadal.
Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you.
Really? No?
Co, ruszamy? We're gonna head off, we have some plans. We'll see you. See you next week.
See you next time, yeah. Bye bye.
Masz, jeszcze łyczka i wyrzucę.
Hi, how are you?
Przystanek na napojenie się i ruszamy dalej.
Guys, have an awesome week.
Yeah.
See you soon, guys.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah.
Okay. The Warsaw now. Warsaw now. Money from the people. Got this in Warsaw, Poland.
In Warsaw?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's more people in Warsaw.
Yeah.
Some more upbeat. They better bike.
Są i nasi. To się skryli.
Długo hammer.
Would it make a difference if you move? Maybe. Some people
Nie, tylko chciałem, żebyś mi przytrzymała. Przytrzymaj chwilę. Potrzebuję się troszeczkę Trzymaj.
Super, w szoku jestem, że was tylu jest tutaj na czacie. Wow.
Poczekaj, zobaczę co nie daje.
Okay, we wrapped up there.
Słuchajcie, no moje to jest tak lekko sekund, co?
I'm going to go down to 410 and make some. I'll let you know when.
Sure.
Go, Maria.
Będziemy się zbierać w takim razie. Jestem potem na podpisaniu. Kochani, protest Galway dobiega końca. Już demontują banery. Na dzisiaj to będzie wszystko. Mam informację, że kolejny protest odbędzie się w przyszłą sobotę o godzinie 14 na Square, czyli tutaj dokładnie w tym samym miejscu. Także zapraszam za tydzień oczywiście. Z wielu przemówień, wielu interesujących momentów zrobię pliki filmowe, które będą publikowane na fanpage'ach Action COVID 1984 oraz Hello Irlandia. Także dzięki za dzisiaj. Proszę Was o udostępnianie, bo zasięgi nam ograniczają i do zobaczenia następnym razem.
Ktoś poznaje tego pana? Chyba poznajecie. Balony. Jest pompa. To ja ale tak z historii jestem wielka co nie. Okazuje się, że to jest co wciskają, ale ja jestem w szoku, jak się o tym dowiaduję się o różnych rzeczach. Szok. Że trochę osób jest. Niby powity dzień niepodległości. Wiadomo, to jest jeden z starszych tych prezydentów, którzy bronili do końca, oni sprzedali nasz kraj na obcy łapy. Widać to doskonale po latach. Zachodniej Biedronki, Lidle, ceny tylko, wszystkie koncerny zagraniczne eksportują złoża miedzi, ceny tylko, kobalt. Jeszcze tylko jako takie się kopalnie trzymają, ale już widzicie, co się zaczyna, kultura, także nic nowego. Handel kwitnie na wolnym powietrzu, aż się dziwię, że do was jakieś wypoważnienia macie? Na ten wysokościowe, rozumiem? Jak tam trzeba się wspiąć? Nie, troszeczkę ludzi jest, co? Z Warszawy? No, to zewsząd tylko ludzie przyjechali na ten, no. Z Wrocław, z Pomorskiego, Zakopane, cholerę. Zewsząd. Że jak ktoś to zaprasza, to możecie się dołączyć. Powodzenia.
No intensywny weekend. Coś pani powie, czuje
na marsze, to jak idziemy drogą, to teraz na chodnik. Jak idziemy chodnikiem, to teraz na drogę, to się wtedy. Otworzyli wszystko i dzisiaj was już przestali.
Żyd to jest zwierzę zakłamane, bydlę, które jest wychowane na Talmudzie i prawda jest dla niego trucizną. Bo kto nie czytał Talmudu, to nie wie, co to jest. To jest najbardziej antyludzka, rasistowska książka. Napisana przez chory łeb.
Right. This is Galway now.
Brilliant.
So now, if it's no protest, they will show.
Excellent.
No. Yes. So this is a live stream for Hello Island fan page. It's full live stream from this protest in here. This is a few different places. In here, I record interesting moments for properties and videos from the protest. Yeah, because you know, if I download video from Facebook, the quality is much less. If I record in here, the quality is very good. So, and also if Facebook delayed my video, I have everything in here. Yeah.
Sometimes and everyone is like, you know, every little competition, very few.
In Poland, it's not the best. It's not the best.
What did you say? Warsaw?
Warsaw, yeah.
Many? Oh, it's good.
I don't know what money for there.
Yeah, the Polish and Irish, there's a kindred thing that kindred spirit.
Oh my god, that's
But like yesterday evening, the boat one Polish guy, he is super journalist like me, but he is very popular. Because like and yesterday they arrested him on street. Then that man people go to police station, you know, and man people go from another town to help him.
Ja się zgubiła moja grupka. Przecież nie dogonię, nie odnajdę. Stałem sam.
Policeman was the front door for protect police station. No? Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the one. That's why.
I actually think.
Yeah, this is good idea for us for the moment. But in Ireland, not many people do this job. Everyone has phone. It is not too difficult to buy some power bank, yeah, you know, and turn on the live stream from the account.
Polska! Nie Izrael! Tu jest Polska! Nie Izrael! Tu jest Polska!
Tu jest Polska! Nie Izrael! Tu jest Polska! Nie Izrael! Nie Izrael! Nie Izrael!
Zacznie się zaraz! Czerwoni! Czerwoni! Słuchajcie tego! Czerwoni! 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 Ludzie powoli nie wytrzymują. Zaaresztowali fotografa, który szedł na barierkę. Zrzucili go z barierki. Tak, widzieliście zresztą. Sami prowokują sytuacje, które niepotrzebne są. Chcieliśmy tu walczyć pokojowo, ale chcą, będzie wojna. Wow! Gestapo! 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 Chcą z nami walczyć! Chcą z nami walczyć! Do you want to fight with that man? Really? Gestapo, do you want to fight with that man? With that millions of people? Really? Hey! 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 Gestapo! Nazis! Tylu przeciwko tylu! Tylu przeciwko tylu! Tylu przeciwko tylu! Dzisiaj może to się nie skończyć pokojowo. Ludzie mają naprawdę nastroje ciężkie.
wage? I ask you, who paid? We are paid your wage.
You're in trouble now, boys. You're in trouble.
Who paid your wage? I ask you, who paid? We are paid your wage.
You're in trouble now, boys.
We can call it too. The sheriff all around the world. Yeah, last people around the world. That's my website.
Get the phone out for this. Yeah, I know, you're probably right.
That's my website on Facebook.
However, when people start running, one second. This angle is I have to hold it with my arm out, and people start running back, I'm risking to drop the phone on the floor. It's not very good.
Hey, war! War! Attack! You attack now? War! Hey, war! We came here to fight for freedom! Like a free people! We came here to fight for freedom! Like a free people!
We're going to be live the entire time of the event. Subscribe to the channel, we're live every day. Show the live streams from London.
Zamawiają się na łóżko. Stańcie tam tak z dala, stańcie.
Keep against his friends.
Biggers came! The biggers came now, yeah? There will be attack now for the free people!
Stop him pushing
you are
this
like
fence!
Gestapo, like Nazis!
Pushing the fence! We need help here, get out this fence here! Don't do that, people are going to get injured! Get here! You can't get
your grandfathers fought in the Second World War for the freedom! For
get
the
against
fight
this fence
for the
here!
Nazis! And you like to say, you are like Nazis!
I've moved up and out, wait. You can't get past, we've got this fence here.
This is the
over. Boris Johnson would not do it for you guys. He would not do it for you. Boris Johnson would not do it for you.
Yeah, government Libya! Libya, don't dare government Libya! And you need to leave Libya alone!
He doesn't care.
And you will be looking to support Africa. Really?
Yeah, government Libya! Libya, someday government Libya!
On Second World War, fight with the Nazis. And you creating the Nazis 21st century.
A little bit, or should I just keep it as it is?
On Second World War, some grandfathers fight with the Nazis, and you creating the Nazis 21st century. When you arrest Boris Johnson, do your job. The people are asking going to be arrested.
Mario, dasz powiększyć się?
Just now?
Numery są.
Do we have another half an hour to 4:30 or?
Mario, dasz powiększyć się? Numery są.
I'll just have to keep it running. I'm not sure. Let me know if it's when it's at 4:40 or 4:30. Guys, if you're just tuning in now, we're going to be live all day. We're going to be covering the entire event. We're also live every day in London. Please subscribe to the channel, it helps us out to bring you all free content in the future.
Dochodzą wolnie. Wiedzą, że coś tu się będzie dziać. Coraz więcej ludzi. Dochodzą wolni ludzie. Wiedzą, że coś tu się będzie dziać. Coraz więcej ludzi. Private part, private security. For the farmer. For the business. But that's your business. Private part, private security. For the farmer. For the business. But that's your business.
Boris is holding him. Boris wants away. I'm scared. I'm scared.
Welcome to all the new people coming in chat. It is anti-lockdown protest in front of Downing Street in